Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode. Now, this week's episode is a episode with the fantastic Guy Tang. I'm going to take a little look at how he goes about this particular hair colour. Now, there's lots of interesting things happening in this particular video, so I thought it'd be really interesting for you guys to join me while I watch it and give you some of my thoughts and feelings on what is going on and why in this particular video. Some of you may have already seen it and asked yourself many questions about it. So let's get on with today's video. But before I get on with today's video, quick update. I have got a new YouTube channel. It started 2 weeks ago. It was called The Life of Hair Review, but it's been swiftly changed to More The Life of Hair. Won't go into all the details right now as to why I changed the name, but I did a little poll in a live I did on Wednesday night. Oh, and don't forget, I will be doing another live this Wednesday. They're Q&A sessions. It's not a tutorial. Bring your questions. I'm going to answer some of the comments that come through from people on the channel and just, share the love with educating people on my responses to those comments, as well as obviously many other questions that you guys bring to the table. So Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. GMT will be live, and then also got the new channel, which is linked down in the description. So if you want to go and give that a follow, that would be hugely appreciated. The content will be completely different over there. Hope you enjoy it. So that's about it for this week. If you enjoy this episode, then hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and chat to me down in those comments. And hopefully we'll be reading some of them out on Wednesday night. I'll see you in the next one.
So you can see her natural hair is level 0. It's pretty black. It's dark. No, I was just kidding. It's like a 1-2. And as it comes out through here, you can see that there's some browner ends. You can see this is her old hair color. So she's had brown put on this and then also had black put over this. So the scary part is going in, highlighting her hair with Big 9 and lightener, and God knows what, a hair color remover on her. Now, I know a lot of hair besties are gonna ask me, like, a lot of hair color removers are discontinued. So when I heard about how all these hair color lines are discontinued, the hair color removers because of compliancy issues. So I just...
Okay, hair color removers being discontinued. We don't actually have that problem here in the UK. So if there's anybody in the US, which I know lots of you who watch this are in the US, knows anything about the colour remover situation, discontinued thing happening, I would love to hear from you in the comment section, because I can get colour removers coming out my ears over here at the moment. So I don't know whether that's just you guys in the US. There's some compliancy issues, so I imagine there'll be some chemicals in there that are maybe hazardous to human nature, or maybe they're hazardous to the water, putting them down the drain. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really divulge any more information than that. He just says he's hoarding some in his studio. So we'll just get on with the video, but that was just really particular interest. I thought I'd find out if anyone knew any more details to that, because I can't find any on YouTube or internet anywhere.
Hoard like a whole lot of them and just use what I can because they're all gone now. It's hard to find them. So I just want to make sure that we're able to remove all the color, and what that's going to do is it's going to expose her underlying pigment. What's going to happen is during the hair color remover process is that it removes all of the oxidative dye. So anything that's artificial will get pulled out and the underlying pigment will be exposed. So whatever she was lifted to underneath, you'll see the raw tone underneath. So most likely the parts that were de-virginized, if you will, is going to turn slightly orangey red.
Okay, so quick little think about what he's saying there, because it's not a huge amount of context as he talks through that technique. So he's going to put a colour remover on the hair, which colour removers mainly kind of target oxygenative colour dyes. They don't target natural colour. And the reason that he's going to expose undertone is because even though, so this lady's hair has had a black box dye put on it, she doesn't know what brand it was, how long ago, she knows nothing about it. She'll talk about it later in the video. It's as if she didn't even do it herself. She's got no idea of anything about it. So, as clients never do remember what it was or how long ago and all those kind of things. Anyway, so she's got this black box dye in her hair. that she's put on just where the hair was brown. So she left out her natural hair apparently, and then applied it from where the brown started, which you saw in the beginning of the video, and then all the way down through to the ends. So very, very interesting. So he's gone in with this colour remover to help remove those unnatural pigments, because the next process that he's going to do is very, very Guy Tang. We'll talk about that in a minute. And so interestingly, when he puts this colour remover on, well, we'll see what happens in just a second, which is not a lot. So anyway, let's just...
I'm going to wait a little bit to see if it gets lighter, but you can definitely see it's lifting a little bit, so it's removing some of the oxidative black dyes. It's not too dramatic, but something is happening. And usually when you dry the hair, you can definitely see a difference. We're going to put the scary lamp on you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, heat and colour removers. Not really sure whether heat and colour removers is a good or a bad thing, because effectively colour remover is another corrosive product, and we talked about this in a previous video where they were using the colour remover prior to bleaching, and obviously, you know, anything that's corrosive is going to create some damage. It may only be corroding the unnatural colour pigments, but anything that's corrosive will corrode everything that's around it. That's like saying if I throw acid on this table, it won't corrode the wood because it's natural. It will, and vice versa. A very strong alkaline would do exactly the same thing. So there will be some damage to her hair. It's obviously not going to be as much damage as you would get with a bleach, for instance. That's probably one of the things to think about there. So yeah, definitely think about that when we're doing this. You know, there are differences between the two, but I've never come across anything that isn't going to create damage before we then create damage. Does that make sense?
As much as we can, okay? So we are back from doing the color remover. So I want you guys to take a look here. It slightly lightened those ends where she put the black in. The one thing that does make me nervous is that she says she hasn't colored it in a year. Okay, so what did you do? Tell us what you did.
So what I did was, when my hair was like brown up here, I used box dye to dye it only here, so not the roots.
So you just put it like midway down?
Midway down, wherever it was light.
And this was a year ago?
Yeah.
So because permanent color in a box would lift the base, even though it's maybe a level 2 or 3, there is still a 20 or 25 volume that's mixed with it. So removing that dye should have exposed more underlying pigment. But I see nothing, only down here on the ends that it lightened. So I'm just like really confused. And I was like, was it dim eye? Because if it's dim eye, I would understand, because dim eye color only deposits. So I have no idea what she put, and you don't either.
I don't know either.
So she's got no idea what she did, and as I'd said previously, obviously she has darkened down that hair. Now, I think it's quite obvious what's happened here. She's used an absolute pure demi-permanent in there with a very, very low ammonia, a deposit-only colour that hasn't lifted her natural base. Because obviously when we use a permanent colour that is alkaline, then that will start to lift the natural base. If we did it with a 20 or 25 vol, as Guy was saying, we would get 2 levels of lift, and that would start to expose undertone, and then he would have got the result that he was expecting, which was for her hair to be kind of orangey red underneath, but it wasn't. It was just black still, and that is clearly because she'd used some form of demi-permanent on her hair. Now, I would say that I would be asking myself in that specific instance, did she use a professional hair colour? She's saying box dye, but it would scream something like Shades EQ to me. You know, something that was really, really kind to the hair, that wasn't going to create loads and loads of damage, and wasn't going to lift that underneath colour. So I'm not entirely sure that what she's saying is the truth, which is exactly what we expect from clients, obviously. Unfortunately, sorry clients, but you know, not every client is honest about their colour history. They don't necessarily remember their colour history. If you're watching this as a client, this isn't about all clients don't tell the truth, but lots of clients don't tell the truth. I've had some horrendous instances where clients have not told the truth, or they've realised that by telling the truth they can't have what they want, and then so therefore they go away and they come back and they tell lies based on the truths that they're not supposed to. Oh God, anyway, look, I can totally foresee that this is what's happened here, because otherwise that colour remover would have exposed loads of red, loads of orange, like all colour removers do generally. So that was really interesting. I've never ever seen that in my life, where I've put a colour remover on and there's been no undertone exposed afterwards. It really got me thinking about colour removers actually. I really want to do a video on colour removers now, because we can still get them here in the UK, so why not? And I don't know if they're going to be discontinued here in the UK, but anyway, let's go.
3 different formulations. I'm going to need 3 bowls. Okay, so bowl number 1, I'm going to use Shadow Ash.
Here he goes again. 3 bowls of colour to break the base. I discussed this last time I watched a Guy Tang video with you guys. So he's going to use 3 bowls of colour for this, and he puts like whole tubes in virtually, or whole tube and then 15 mils and 15 mils. So he's effectively using like 1.5 tubes on each bowl. And later on in the video we'll talk about it a little bit further. But yeah, he uses so much colour in his videos, or just generally, and I think it's okay, providing obviously the client's paying for it. But we'll talk about cost and things at the end, because lots of people last time were like, oh, it's ridiculous, but providing you were charging the client accordingly for the service, then yes, using lots and lots of tubes of colour is not really a problem. But anyway, let's carry on.
6 with 20 volume, and I'm going to mix dark shadows into Shadow Ash 6, because dark shadows sit at a level 5, and it also is calibrated with lower ammonia, so it ensures that we don't get hot routage situation. And then mid shaft, I'm going to do just Shadow Ash 6 with 20 volume, and then on the ends I'm going to do Shadow Ash 7 with 20 volume. So I'm going to pull Shadow Ash 6 box with dark shadows. Dark shadows is going to be your best friend. You need to use it anytime you're using any of the colors on the routage area. All right, so that's 55 grams of Shadow Ash.
So he's recommending there using his dark shadows colour to prevent root glow, because he's going to put this application on root to tip without going back in and doing like a virgin application, because obviously the root area is virgin according to the client's application method. So just bear that in mind for later on in the video, which I think is quite interesting. Anyway, we'll keep going. So just bear that in mind for later on in the video.
6 dark shadows is my best friend. Now I'm going to use 20 volume. Make sure you use the Delicate Developer 20 volume and mix it equal parts. Okay, we're going to mix in Guy Tang Collagen Powder. This is very, very important, okay? We need collagen in everything. I take collagen as a supplement, along with my multivitamins and my protein shakes.
Okay, collagen in your colour. Now this is obviously a hot new thing that lots of people have asked me about. It came up on Wednesday in the live that I did. Collagen isn't found in hair very much. It's found in the surface, the cuticle layer on the outside, but it's not necessarily found anywhere else. No, there's not much scientific kind of literature out there on the benefits of collagen in your colour. So I still need to do a bit more homework on this, but I mean, Guy Tang's putting it in everything. He's even putting it in his smoothie. I'm not sure it's the Guy Tang powder that he's got in front of him. It's a multi-purpose, multi-benefit. You can put it in your hair formulations and your smoothies in the morning. But anyway, no, I'm only joking. I don't know what collagen he's putting in his smoothies.
And that's the situation, okay? So it's very important to make sure that you put this in your formula. So I'm going to put in 2. There you go. All right, and as a bonus, we're also going to put in Olaplex number 1 to protect the hair. We're going to protect the hair as much as possible, even though the routage area is virgin. I like to make sure that we go the extra measure. I'm gonna whisk this up. You can see in the bowl here. What I love is that when our clients see that we go the extra mile to protect their hair, they love it, because this is something they can't do with a box dye. So this will be Shadow Ash 7, and this will be the last formula on her ends. Okay, and I'll also mix this with 20 volume. And I'm gonna make sure I mix the Delicate Developer of 20 volume. And then don't forget to put the Guy Tang Collagen Powder in as well.
If her hair's not super shiny with all that collagen in that color, I'm going to be really disappointed.
First formula with dark shadows is gonna go on her routage. All right, so I'm just gonna apply this on her routage, like your standard application, just 4 quadrants. And when I apply this, what you'll see is, look how amazing the consistency is. So I got the 4 quadrants down, now I'm just gonna put her routage formula, and then I'm gonna go in with formula 2 and 3. Alright, so we just got done rinsing out her shallow ash hair color. This is so pretty. Her hair is all lifted evenly. Look at that beautiful brown. And look how ashy it looks. So if I lift this into the light.
Okay, very, very interesting considering that she previously had box dye on her hair. And this is what I was saying about it could not be box dye. Box dye would just never behave like this. You couldn't go in with a tint, even if you'd done a colour remover and lift the hair afterwards. It just none of it makes sense to me at this point. He doesn't really talk about it in the video. You know, he doesn't have one of those paranormal hair activity moments where he talks about, you know, things that go wrong and how you can fix them. He just, you know, skims over it as if, well, you know, par for the course. This is what you expect. Crazy result in my opinion. I mean, amazing, but crazy. I wish he'd have gone a bit deeper into how that actually happened, because you know, when we're looking at this hair here, it is pretty even. There is a slightly darker band in the middle there. It's fractionally darker than the root area and the ends, but it has managed to lift effectively previously tinted hair with just colour remover. So, or having colour remover the hair and then tinted it. Very, very interesting stuff, Guy. I would love to know more about how that actually works out. And I think that's probably the understanding of colour removers a bit more from my perspective, but anyway.
Big 9, it's gonna lift you all the way. I use it quite a big 9, it's gonna lift you all the way. I use it quite a bit so you can see that this tube was used. So I'm gonna squeeze everything out. I'm gonna start off with 80 grams because I don't want to overmix, because I like to remix as I go so the lightener stays fresh. And I'm going to use the dedicated 40 volume developer. Now don't get scared. I know when we think of 40 volume we think it's scary, but remember this is off scalp. I'm going to do a back combing technique, so 40 is not going to be as scary as you think. We need that maximum lift, so 40 is what we need because it's off the scalp, it's away from the head, so that's the cold shaft area. So I'm going to mix it 1 to 1/2 ratio.
Okay, good to see Guy is a man of my own heart. 40 volume. Yes, boys and girls, 40 volume. For those of you out there who are terrified of 40 volume and think it's going to fry the client's hair, as he said, it's away from the scalp. You can't put 40 volume on scalp, so forget about it. It's away from the scalp. He's got a lot of lifting to do. If he doesn't want to process this all day, then he's going to need to use 40 volume. End of story. You know, it's really, really important that we recognize that these peroxide levels are there for a reason. And if we do not want to exceed manufacturers' processing times, then it's really important that we bear that in mind, that 40 volume is okay. You know, he's going to definitely put collagen in it. He's definitely going to put Olaplex in there. And so that's going to look after the condition of his client's hair whilst he's lifting it with 40 volume. So, yeah, it's really, really important that we bear this in mind, that, you know, the manufacturers wouldn't create 40 volume if it wasn't to be used. They would just not give you the option. They give you 30 volume and under and give you a longer processing time. So really, really good point there. And he's mixing it 1 to 1.5. And again, I'm really into the 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. The less peroxide you put into your bleach, the stronger you will make the bleach itself, because the peroxide is acidic and the bleach is alkaline. And the less acidity you put into the alkalinity, the stronger the alkaline solution is that you make with both. So it's really, really important to remember, guys, when you're formulating your bleach. I did make a whole video on it about, you know, using scales and mixing accurately. You can check it out over on my channel.
Out, which is a horseshoe shape on top. Then we have the back section. I'm going to divide it in half. What I'm loving is I'm able to lay the hair nice and flat against the board to have some pressure. And what I love about Linda's hair is that even though she looks like she has a lot of hair, which she does. You can see here as I kind of brush her hair out, it gets slightly finer on the end. So you can see the section here of her nape. Look how thick and dense this section is. That's like 2 inches thick. But as I pull this section out, look at her hair, it gets more finer on the ends. So this is the ideal hair I just love to work with because we could create a lot of impact with little work.
This bit, when I watched it the first time around, made me laugh because basically he's saying that, you know, working with hair like this, you can make it look amazing and not try very hard. I like his honesty there. That was really, really funny. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? If your client's got, you know, abundant fine hair, it's so much easier to do their hair and make it look amazing without all the kind of drama of having really thick, abundant hair. Yeah, so nice one, Guy.
To avoid these little baby hairs. So you'll see here she has a bunch of these little baby guys hanging out. You want to avoid highlighting these things because they're gonna look like breakage, especially on hair as dark as Linda. When they turn blonde, it looks like breakage and people won't know that it's baby hair. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. So I want to avoid a bunch of the little short guys.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a fantastic piece of advice. And it's actually something I've never talked about, but I never colour baby hairs. I never ever go around picking out tiny little hair, you know, just don't. I just ignore them. Even when I'm doing just regular highlights, I just ignore them. They're not of any consequence to the finished result. And like he said, actually, they look like breakage. I'd never even thought of it like that. But yeah, he's absolutely right. They do look like breakage. So yeah, that is a great piece of advice. So just ignore those fine hairs around the hairline. And if your client wants them colouring, then you can explain to them it's going to look like breakage. That is going to look like your hairline snapped off. It's just going to emphasise them, especially on dark hair textures, especially on dark hair colours. Yeah, superb, Guy. I love it.
All right, guys, so it's been over 45 minutes processing Linda's hair.
He's been processing it for 45 minutes. Which is fine, because obviously, you know, but he never took the back out. I don't understand. Like, that means the back's been on for ages, because I don't know whether anyone's ever noticed, but Guy Tang takes a lifetime to put the colour on one section. It feels like a lifetime to me. I don't know whether he just does that for one section to really talk about it, and then he flies through the rest of the sections. I've got no idea, because you don't get to see every section. Obviously, it'd be a very, very long video. If it was long enough as a video in its own right. Anyway, so, you know, I don't know. Those back sections must have been on an hour and a half longer, maybe 2 hours. I don't really know how long it's all taken, but I'm really surprised he didn't take the back out. Anyway, who knows? Maybe it's the collagen.
Coming close here, I want you to see this is just a Pearl Titanium Toner on damp hair.
So here we have Guy's colour all processed, rinsed off and dried, ready for his toning phase. Now, the toning phase of this video actually is probably one of the most interesting parts of it. So do stick around to watch him tone this lady's hair, because I really agree with what he says. If you want the best results, then you do need to... He pre-toned this hair at the backwash with the colour that he just mentioned to take away any yellow tones before he went in with his next colour. But if you want the best results, you do need to dry the hair off. You do need to apply your root stretches to dry hair for best results. This is just toned on wet hair. I mean, it looks fine, but obviously you can take everything a step further in life, and this, what he's about to do, is take it a step further. And I think it's a really, really valid point that he makes, but obviously it's adding time, it's adding cost. So sometimes we have to negate these things for our clients' financial situations, so we have to weigh all these things up as a hairstylist. We're going to talk about money a little bit towards the end of the video as well.
Toner on the hair wet doesn't cover up like the stitch marks. So if you look close here, you see all the stitch marks of the highlights being put in, which is fine if this is what you want. It still looks beautiful. But for me, I want to merge the base in with the highlights so it looks seamless. So take a look at her. She obviously is Asian, and most of us love hair that's super ashy, but you can see how with her skin complexion, she needs a little bit of warmth that's controlled, because too much of this ashy blonde can make her look tired and aged, but it is beautiful. Look how beautiful and icy this blonde is. Super, super icy. Look at this. But look at it next to her skin. It doesn't complement her skin that well. And also, I want to merge the colors. So I'm gonna turn towards IG, which is ice gold. And ice gold is gonna blend this down seamlessly. Remember, the ice comes first and the gold comes secondary. So you're getting a violet base iridescent tone that's canceling out the gold that gives you the perfect neutral tone.
Okay, super stuff there, Guy. And I really liked what you said about that ashy tone washing her out and creating. And if you look at her skin tone in that clip, she looks washed out, and he's absolutely bang on the money. I get so many clients, especially here in Brighton, that want to come in. They've got Asian skin tones, and they've got like olivey skin tones, and they want really like ash blonde hair. You know, it just doesn't suit them. End of story. I don't know why they want it. I'm not really sure what the idea is. I think it's because they've got black hair, and obviously, you know, it lifts warm, generally speaking, and then that means it could be a bad colour job. I don't know what the psychology around it is, but yeah, it just doesn't look good on them. And he's absolutely bang on the money in terms of melting that colour away as well. Preferably, this is what the process that I would follow with all of my clients. Now, there are certain circumstances where, you know, you have to forgo drying it and washing it, and or washing and drying it that way around before you put your toner on, because of, you know, time restrictions as a normal hairstylist. But for the best colour deposit, especially at those roots, yeah, you definitely do need to dry that hair off as much as humanly possible.
One first. So this goes on a retouche. So I want to shadow this down a little bit, the little brown that you see at the scalp, even though I took preventative and did.
So this was the bit that I was saying about when he was mixing up the first 3 bowls of colour. Now, again, he's mixed up 3 more bowls of colour here for this toner. An enormous quantity of colour has gone on this client's head. I would say we're into the 10 tube realms. It's got to be close to that. He's put whole tubes of this in, and 15 mils of that and 15 mils of this. He used 3 tubes in the beginning to do the shadow route, 3 bowls, which I don't know how many tubes he used for that specifically, but you know, you can see him squirting in a lot of colour. Then he's gone in, done his pre-toning, however many tubes of colour that he used for that. Then he's gone in and done his toning technique, or he's about to do his toning technique. He's got 3 more bowls of colour for that, and he even says it's because of, you know, what I do. Now, we'd all love to emulate Guy Tang's colours, and our clients do bring in pictures of Guy Tang's colours. Of course they do. But the cost of the colour alone in this particular instance is, I don't know exactly how much each tube of colour you use is, but for the ranges that I use, we would be looking to spend, with all the Olaplex and all the additives and all that, you're probably looking at £100+ in product alone. So when we're doing consultations, guys, with our clients, we've got to factor in the expense of, you know, the technique in terms of product, because lots of businesses lose money through just not charging enough for the products, and people base their prices on, you know, another salon down the road, or another you know, indie hairstylist that works, you know, in the same area. It's not about basing the price. You don't pluck it out of thin air. You know, you don't want to choose, you don't want to earn as much money as them, because you might have bigger bills than them, you know. And lots of people fail, and I hate that word, but it's the reality is, you know, lots of people don't turn a big profit because they're not charging sufficient amounts of money for the processes that they are having to do to achieve the color results. And this is why when we're talking about consultations in the consultation video I was making a couple of weeks ago, it's really, really, really important, please guys, that you break down the price, not only from the perspective of how much it's going to cost the client for that result, but how much color you're going to end up using on that particular client. If someone's got a lot of hair, it could be that you need to charge them extra. I have a thick and long hair kind of add-on, and it could be 2-3 add-ons, and basically it covers the price of a tube of tint, that add-on. It doesn't really cover the extra time, unfortunately, because that would make that add-on very, very expensive. But it covers the tube of tint plus a little bit extra, because effectively it's not going to take me a huge amount more time to put the colour on if the hair is really, really thick. It might if it's a balayage or a set of highlights, and then of course you need to add multiple long and thick extensions onto that service. But please bear in mind, like Guy has spent, you know, $100+ pounds on product. This service, including product and his time, is going to be hundreds of dollars, because he's probably spent most of the day on it. This is going to be a 5-6 hour job. So just bear that in mind, guys. If you're working from, you know, 10 till 6 on a daily, you know, on a weekly basis, and you're doing a 5 or 6 hour color client, that's the majority of your day. You spent $100 on color. That color client is going to cost a lot of money, no doubt about it. So I know that there's lots of people, like, I see Instagram posts where people say they've charged $500 or $600 for a color, and people are on there going, how much did you charge? That's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. But if we really, really think about it, most of us are undercharging. End of story. So really, really take that into consideration from this point on, guys, and your businesses will be much more profitable. Promise.
So we're gonna glaze her down with 3 different formulas, because that's what I do. Formula 1 first. So this goes on a retouche. So I want to shadow this down a little bit, the little brown that you see at the scalp. Even though I took preventative and did dark shadows, I really like the scalp to be a little bit smokier. So that's why I mixed this retouche formula. So this goes on straight on the retouche. This ensures that you have the perfect grow out. And this is gonna blend the stitch marks. All right, so with my second formula, I am going in through almost like the second quarter. So formula 1, formula 2, formula 3, formula 4. So you'll see some highlights right through here, but it's very minimal to where I bring it. So take a look at these highlights. This is where I want to stop right here, and then formula 3, and then formula 4 with the clear. All right, I'm just gonna finish this off, and we're gonna mix our third formula. All right, so our last 2 formula is gonna be ice gold. I'm just gonna squeeze the tube out. This one's already been used. So we do 1:2 ratio of 6 volume developer. Okay, so I am gonna also add Guy Tang, my hero collagen powder, to this formula as well. And we're gonna splash in a little Olaplex. All right, so the third formula, 9IG Ice Gold. I'm just gonna apply it all the way till I reach the very, very white light ends. So this is the last one. I'm adding crystal clear.
I particularly like there that he's even laughing about it himself. He's like, this is the last one. I mean, how many formulations now? 3 root colors, bleach, multiple bowls of bleach. Yeah, we've mentioned it all before, and now 4 toners for the end. I mean, it's absolutely madness. Yeah, that is a lot of colour, Guy. And I think even he knows he's gone too far this time.
So as you can see, as I move it and run my hands beneath it and shake it, you can see all that dimension. Look at those ends being super light. Oh my god, it looks so pretty. And especially seeing this color on Asian hair, which is naturally dark, and you see it just transition and look this natural. It's hard to achieve this color. And just kind of coming through here, you kind of see that depth from within, and that's the key here, just to see that depth kind of come down. It's not too ashy, it's not too silver.
A fantastic result as always. No one would expect anything different from Guy. Yeah, superb. And I love the IG combination. It looks absolutely knockout on her. It brings all the colour back into her face. and it makes the world of difference to the way that she looks. Killer as always, Guy. Thank you very much for what you share with us and what you bring to the world of hairdressing. I know that when I talk to people, you know, they say, oh, Guy Tang's not my cup of tea necessarily, but I think Guy has his place in our industry. He's earned his stripes as a superhero hairdresser that he loves to brand himself as now. And I very much enjoy the way that he approaches stuff. He really does make me think at times. So even if you don't love him, guys, I do recommend you watch his videos, because he definitely will give you some inspiration and make you think differently about how you approach things at times. Have a wonderful week, guys. Thanks for watching this episode with me, and I will see you again very soon for another episode of The Life of Hair.